This is your instructor Megan, and in this video I want to introduce you to myself and to the course. This is ICOM 201, Web Design and Usability. So first I'll talk a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Megan McNames. You can call me Megan, that's fine. I'm an instructor of journalism and digital media here at Ball State. I teach primarily in the digital media minor, so many of you have seen me before and many of you will see me again. I teach digital storytelling for the minor, I teach interactivity design, I teach web design and usability, I sometimes teach the intro to the digital world course, and I also teach in the journalism department primarily design courses. So let's talk about the class. What you're going to do in this class is you're really going to get a very conceptual introduction to design and designing websites that have specific objectives and audiences. There's going to be a big emphasis on theories of web design and evaluations. You're going to complete usability tests. In fact, your big project in the course is to design a website and then to test it. So the difficulty with this class is that it's called Web Design and Usability, and there's a lot entailed in web design, and the first video in week 1 is going to kind of go over this. So what I've done with the course is I've kind of split it into 3 sections. First, we're going to look at usability. What is usability? How might we assess the usability of a website? After all, the most important thing for a website is that it accomplishes whatever it's supposed to accomplish. If it's a portfolio site and it's supposed to get you a job, it should get you a job. If it's an e-commerce site and it's supposed to make as many sales as possible, it should make as many sales as possible. So we're going to look at usability to understand some of the things that contribute to that and how we can test whether or not a site is achieving its goals. We're also going to look at web structures, so you're going to get a very sort of shallow view of web structures. We're going to look at the structure of websites in terms of how they're organized, but we're also going to look at some of the programming, which is really not programming, but some of the code that makes websites work. So you're going to look at HTML and CSS, which is really basic web language that's going to give you a sense of how a website goes from a bunch of code to looking like something. You're also going to look at some visual design. All 3 of these things go hand in hand. A website is sort of the product of those 3 things. What it looks like visually, how it's structured, and how the programming is causing it to do different things, and then whether or not all of that adds up to meeting the appropriate goal. So in this course, you're going to start with usability. So you're going to complete 3 usability tests. You're going to have case studies. So when you study visual design, for example, you're going to look at websites and explain how the designer for that site has employed visual design tactics. You're going to have technology tests. So you're going to have software tutorials and you're going to be tested on your understanding of that software. You will have quizzes. The course is broken up into 3 sections, and at the end of each you'll have a short quiz. And of course, last but not least, the big final website design, which the website is only worth 50 points, but the usability project centered around the website, where you test to see if your site is achieving its goals, is 150 points. And then you have design workshops, this should be 50 points, where you're going to have the chance to meet with others from the course and critique their websites and usability test materials. So the usability tests, there's 3 different types of tests that you're going to design and implement in the first 3 weeks of, well, the first pod of the course, the usability section, which is 3 weeks. It's actually not the first 3 weeks because you don't have one this week. Case studies, again, each week you're going to, this is from the wrong presentation. Should say. So case studies, some weeks you will write a brief case study of a web design related to that week's concepts. So again, if you're looking at, say, visual design, you might write about the visual design of a website. Again, quizzes, the course is broken up into 3 parts: usability, web structures, and visual design. And you'll see next to each of these I have a Latin word: utilitas, firmitas, and venustas. I'll talk about these in the first video of the first week. At the end of each section, you're going to take a 30-point quiz, just making sure that you understand what you just did and what the terminology means, and also helping me understand where I need to bring in further instruction for the rest of the course. And of course, design workshops. As you work on your design project, you're going to attend workshops on Google Hangouts with your classmates so you can see each other's work and help each other out and give critiques. Tech tests, we're going to be looking at HTML, CSS, and WordPress in this class. You're not going to be an expert at any of these by the time you are finished with the course, but you will have a good understanding of what each is, how it works, and you'll be able to use each to some extent. And then the web design project. You're going to make a portfolio site, you're going to host it on WordPress, and then you're going to test it with usability testing. For this course, there's some software that you're going to need, but you don't need any of it right now. So there's no need to run out and try to get any of this stuff. As you need the software, I'll have videos that explain where to get it and how to get it. So don't panic if you're looking at this list and going, I don't know what those things are. I'll tell you and I'll show you how to get them in the weeks that we use them. So you're going to use WordPress, which is free, but to host your WordPress site, you're going to need a domain and hosting, which is going to cost you about $17 to $40 for the course. You'll need an FTP client, which will allow you to log in to your server, your hosting server, and put files there. You'll need some kind of text editor like Text Wrangler so that you can work with HTML and CSS. Blackboard, obviously, Google Drive and Docs, and that means you'll need a Gmail account. I just want to be clear about the time commitment for this course. All university courses require at least 9 hours of instructional time per week. So as an on-campus instructor, I'm expected to provide 3 hours of on-campus in-class instruction each week, in addition to assigning 6 hours of readings and homework throughout the rest of the week. Online, it just becomes 9 hours of whatever it is I want to give you guys. So this is a class that is going to take those 9 hours. Don't expect to be able to do these assignments in an hour. There's going to be some weeks like the HTML week where you need to complete about 3 or 4 hours worth of tutorials, and then you'll have an assignment to edit some HTML that's not going to look very difficult, but of course when you first learn coding, everything takes a lot longer than you would think. So just be aware that you should expect to spend about 9 hours a week, every week in this course. In the beginning, that's going to be a lot more doing lectures, reading, and writing. Toward the end of class, that's mostly going to be designing your portfolio project. Everything you need to know for the course, everything you need to use, all the materials are in the weekly assignment section of Blackboard. The syllabus is obviously in the syllabus section. Anything that's in the syllabus in terms of what's due each week is also repeated in the weekly assignments. So if you click on week 2, there's a list of what's due week 2. Week 3, there's a list of what's due week 3, etc. For those of you who are new to online learning, this is your first or one of your first classes in the online space. I know that Blackboard is kind of a pain in the butt. So I've put together a tab called Online Learning Skills in Blackboard. If you click it, it'll take you to a playlist of some videos that I've been making that just have some tips for using Blackboard. How to speed up or slow down these lecture videos, how to view assignment rubrics, how to access the course calendar. If there's anything that's not on there that you're curious about, let me know and I'll make a video and I'll add it to that list. So I do have an office on campus in AJ244. My office hours are both virtual and in person. So from 11 to 2 on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I'll be in AJ244 and I'll be online on Skype and GChat. And I'll have my email open. So feel free to stop by or reach out to me during those times. You also can call or text me during those times. You can also schedule a meeting outside of those hours. I'm pretty open. This semester is a lot. I have a lot less availability than previous semesters, but I do have availabilities, especially on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, to schedule a meeting with you. So you can click the Schedule a Meeting tab on Blackboard and request a meeting. You tell me what time you want to have the meeting, and I'll tell you if I'm available. I really don't care what email you use to contact me. If you want to email me through Blackboard, it doesn't matter to me. It all goes to the same place. My preferred email is megan.mcnames@gmail.com, but again, everything ends up there eventually, so don't worry about, how does she want me to send an email? If the email has my name in it, if it has Megan McNames in it somewhere, ML McNames, whether it's BSU or Gmail or anything else, it doesn't matter, it'll get to me. Any email you can find for me is pretty likely my email. I'm the only person with the spelling of my name in this country, so I don't care. Send it to me however you want. The only thing I ask is that you give me a day to respond to your email. I'll usually see it before then, but sometimes I'll I'll be busy, I'll have lots of meetings, or I'll be traveling, and I won't be able to get back with you right away. If you don't get a response in 24 hours, don't assume that I'm ignoring you. Assume that I didn't get your email. I've seen some weird things happen with Blackboard. If you email me in Blackboard, for example, and then you start, I email you back and then you email me again through Blackboard, sometimes it doesn't come up in my email as a new email. It comes up attached to that old one. I've seen weird things like that. So if you don't hear from me, keep trying, because I probably just didn't get your email. Assignments are due at noon on Sundays. Late assignments are not accepted, and Blackboard will shut the assignment uploader down at noon. So just be aware of that Blackboard is using its concept of time to close the assignment uploader. I'm not going in and doing it. So if you're on your computer and your computer says 11:59 and you get on Blackboard and assignment uploader is no longer there, that's because Blackboard now thinks it's noon. It's not exactly the same as your computer, and has closed the assignment uploader. So just make sure you're getting stuff in a few minutes early at the latest so you don't miss the assignment uploader shutdown time. I suggest that after you submit your assignment, you go ahead and look at the next week and see what you have to do for the next week. You're already in Blackboard, so just go take a look, figure out, is this something that that I'm gonna have an easy time with because it's something I already do or already know about, or is this something that I feel like I'm gonna struggle with, and get a sense of what you need to do for the next week, and if you have any questions or concerns you wanna let me know about. This week, you are going to look at some principles for good web design. I'm going to talk about a way of thinking about web design that divides web design into 3 aspects: usability, structure, and aesthetic beauty, or visual design. And you have 2 assignments: introduction of yourself to me and to the classmates, which is a little YouTube video you're going to make, and then I want you to take the list of 9 essential principles for good web design and tell me for each one which of the 3 principles for web design that I talk about in my lecture video do you think it is, and I'll talk more about that in that next lecture video. That's it. Welcome to the class. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out. I look forward to meeting you in your YouTube videos.